Bill's new porch is rectangular with an area of 50 square feet. If the length of the porch is 2 times the width, what is the perimeter of the porch? Okay, perimeter means add the sides. It is a rectangle. The area is 50. The length of the porch is 2 times the width. So we don't know the width, so we got to call that 2W. Okay, so area of a rectangle is equal to length times width. So plugging in the information that we have 50 equals 2W times W. So you get 50 equals W times W is 2W squared. You got the 2, and then W times W is W squared. Divide both sides by 2. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Top cancels with bottom. To get rid of a square, you do the opposite. You take the square root. So we got to take the square root of 25 to get W. So the width is 5. So this is now 5, and this is now 2 times 5. 2 times 5, which is 10. So if the bottom is 10, so is the top. If the right-hand side is 5, so is the left-hand side. So now you add all the sides together. 10 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5 equals 30 feet. And that's the answer. What is the probability of selecting a male from a group of 4 males and 8 females? Probability always has the total on the bottom of the fraction in the denominator. Okay, so you got 4 males and you have 8 females. Oops, sorry, I put that in the wrong spot. So the total is 12. So that's going to go in the denominator. And then since you're talking about males, you're going to do 4 in the numerator. And then you simplify that. You can divide both of these by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So the probability is 1/3. Solve for x. You have to distribute to get rid of parentheses. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is a positive 3 equals, next parentheses, 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Then you got your plus 7 over here. So 3x plus 3 equals 5x. A negative 10 and a positive 7 is a negative 3. I'm going to get my x's together. I always move the smallest one, so the 3x is smaller. The opposite of positive 3x is negative 3x. You always have to do opposite operations. Opposites cancel. 3 equals 5 take away 3 is 2x minus 3. Now you've got to get rid, because you're trying to get the x by itself, so you got to get rid of the negative 3. The opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. You do that on both sides. So 3 plus 3 is 6 equals 2x. Opposites cancel. This is 2 times x, so the opposite of times is divide. So divide each side by 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Top cancels with bottom, so the answer is 3. Okay, line L can pass through the point -1, 2. Which of the following cannot be the equation of line L? First of all, these are alphabetical order. So I'm going to plug it into each answer choice until I find one that's not true. So y is 2 equals 1. Now this means this negative here, it actually means opposite. So the opposite of x, so the opposite of -1 is +1. So 2 equals 2, that one's true. We're looking for the one that's not true. Okay, so y is 2 equals x is -1 plus 1. 2 equals, well, this is like 1 take away 1 here, so 0, that's not true. So the answer is B. Diego's current age is 5 times Martha's age 10 years ago. If Martina is currently m years old, what is Diego's current age in terms of m? Well, first of all, Martina's current age, oh, come on, sorry. Is m. So 10 years ago, would be m minus 10 years. So Diego's current age is 5 times that. So when it's 5 times everything here. So 5 times m is 5m. And 5 times -10 is -50. And that is the answer. If 2x plus 5 equals 8x, then 12x equals what? So the first thing you have to do is take the first equation they give you and solve for x. I have to get my x's over. You don't ever want to move the whatever's over on the right hand side if it's by itself, because you don't want to leave nothing over here. So the opposite of positive 2x is negative 2x. I'm going to subtract 2x from each side. Opposites cancel. 5 equals 8 take away 2 is 6. So 6x. This is 6 times x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 6. So 5 over 6 equals x. Now it says, what is 12 times x? So 12 times 5 over 6. Okay, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and say divide by the bottom, because a fraction bar means divide. So 12 divided by 6 is 2. And then you just multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. An airline asked its agents to assign convenience ratings on a scale of 1 to 7 to 114 flights leaving one of its hub cities. The histogram below shows the distribution of the ratings of the 114 flights. What is the median rating assigned by the agents? Median, it's kind of like the median of a highway. It's the middle number. So I'm going to write down all of these totals here in the order they appear. So 8, 11, 19, and 17, 23, 25, and 11. Okay. And then I'm going to add those up. So that's 114. And you want the middle, so you have to divide by 2. So the middle number would be the 57th number on the list. So I'm going to add these. 8 plus 11 is 19. 19 plus 19 is 38. 38 plus 17 is 55. So that means the 57th number on the list would be right here in this area with a 23. And the 23 was 5. So the the median rating is 5. That's actually the answer. What is the value of x in the following equation? To get rid of a square root, you have to square both sides. So a square and a square root get rid of each other. They cancel out because they're opposites. So I have 2x equals 4 times 4 is 16. Divide both sides by 2. Top cancels with bottom. 4 divided by 2 is 8. The market price of a house is directly proportional to the total area of the house in square feet. If the price of a 1,500 square foot home is $300,000, what is the price of a 2,000 square foot home? Okay, directly proportional means you can set up proportions. A proportion is one fraction equaling another. And we are talking about price and after the word directly proportional, area. So we're talking about price and area. So I just fill in the missing pieces. So the price, so the first price they gave us is $1,500. Oh, sorry. That's the area. Square feet. So that's the area. That's 1,500 here. And the price for that is $300,000. 1, 2. Okay. What is the price of a 2,000 square foot home? So 2,000. And we don't know the price of that. That's what we are trying to find out. So I'm going to simplify this a little bit. I can cancel out these two zeros with two of these zeros. So let me make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 300 divided by 15 is 2, and we still had an extra 0 there. So I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 30, this part right here. 30 divided by 15 is 2, and you got 2 extra zeros. So that's 200 over 1 equals x over 2,000. Now you just multiply the numbers that you know that are across from each other diagonally. So 2 times 2 is 4, and you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Okay, so the price of a 2,000 square foot home is $400,000. Find the x-intercept of a line that has the following equation. 2y equals 3x minus 6. The easiest way to do this is to get x together with y. So I'm going to do the opposite of positive 3x is negative 3x. Put that on both sides. So you get a negative 3x, a positive 2y equals, opposites cancel, a negative 6. Now you take your negative 6, and since you're looking for the x-intercept, you pop it on top of x, and you do not change the sign or anything, just like this. So now you just figure out what that is. A negative 6 divided by a negative 3, a negative divided by a negative is positive, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So the x-intercept is 2. There are 80 students in a school. Every student is taking either algebra or pre-calculus, and some students are taking both. There are 60 students in the algebra class. If 15 students are taking both algebra and pre-calculus, what is the probability that a randomly selected student is taking pre-calculus but not algebra? Okay, I'm going to use a Venn diagram to kind of help us visually see this information. So we've got algebra students are 60. We have 60 algebra students, and I'll let this be pre-calculus here. So 15 are taking both, so they would be overlapping in the middle. Well, if 15 are taking both, 60 take away 15, that means 45 are taking algebra, just algebra. And we don't know how many are taking just pre-calculus. So now if we add everything up, so 45 plus 15 plus x, that has to equal the total of 80, the total of the whole thing, 80 students in the school. So 45 plus 15 is 60 plus x equals 80. Subtract 60 from both sides. Opposites cancel. X equals 20. Okay, so what is the probability? Again, like I mentioned before, probability always has total on the bottom, so the total number of students is 80. So simplify that. You can cancel out the zeros, and then these are even, so cut them in half. So half of 2 is 1, half of 8 is 4, so the probability is 1/4. What is the value of x in the following equation? I want to take the denominator and put it with each term like this. Top cancels with bottom, so this one just becomes 2x plus 3 times 2 is 6 equals 3 times 4 is 12. Subtract 6 from both sides. Bring down the 2x. Opposites cancel. Equals 12 take away 6 is 6. Divide both sides by 2. Top cancels with bottom. 6 divided by 2 is 3. What are the solutions to the equation x squared plus 8x plus 15 equals 0? I have to factor this, so I'm going to make 2 sets of parentheses equaling 0. I have 2 x's, so I don't want to split them up evenly. Everything here is positive, so everything's going to stay positive for my signs in my parentheses. And then I want to work backwards. The factors of 15, that when I add them equal 8. So the factors of 15. 15 divided by 1 is 15. 15 divided by 3 is 5. The combination that adds up to 8 is this. You want to put the biggest number first. If it said factor, we'd be finished, but it says what are the solutions? So we have to, since it's equal to 0, you got to take the opposites. So the opposite of positive 5 is negative 5, and the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. There are no signs separating the square root of 3 and the square root of 5. That means multiplication. So you just basically multiply. So 5 times 3 is 15. And that's the answer to that one. Joe's department store sells pens for 60 cents each and pencils for 40 cents each. Diane purchased a total of 17 items, pens and pencils, for $8.20. How many pens did Diane purchase? Okay, I'm going to let the pens be X and the pencils be Y. Okay, so because of the word each, that means the number gets stuck to the letter. So 60 cents is represented by 0.60 X plus, again, for the 40, because of the word each, the 40 and the Y get stuck together. 0.40 Y equals how much total? $8.20. That is the value portion of the problem. The second thing you need to take care of is this total. So X plus Y, when you total everything up, the total was 17. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is get rid of these decimals, and since they all have 2 places for 2 decimal places, you can actually ignore the fact that the decimals are there and just write it like this: 60x plus 40y equals 820. You're allowed to do that if you have the same number of decimal places. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and simplify that. I can divide all those numbers by 10, so we can make this into an even smaller equation. 6x plus 4y equals 82. And that can be simplified again because all those numbers are divisible by 2. So we can, half of 6 is 3x. You want to get these equations down as much as possible before you start working with them. Half of 4 is 2 equals half of 82 is 41. Okay, so now I'm going to take this other one that we haven't dealt with, and I'm going to multiply everything by -3, because if I do that, I will force my x's to cancel out. So -3 times x is -3x. -3 times y is -3y. And -3 times 17 is a -51. Opposites cancel. A -3 and a +2, that's a -y. Equals 41 take away 51 is a -10. That's like a -1y. So divide both sides by -1 to get y by itself. Top cancels with bottom. Negative divided by a negative is positive. 10 divided by 1 is 10. So we said y was pencils. So 10 pencils. And we know they added up to 17, so that means you got to have 7 pens. And it asked how many pens did she have? So the answer for this problem is 7. A scoutmaster is preparing his troops for their annual fishing expedition. He surveys each of his scouts to find out how many fishing poles they own. What is the mode of the number of poles owned? Mode means most. So number of poles owned . The biggest number on here is 7. So 0 is the answer to this problem. The mode is 0. Okay, simplify x to the 6th times x to the 5th. It's as simple as totaling everything up here. You have 6 x's here, 5 here. 6 plus 5 is 11. And that one's done. The points represented by the xy coordinate pairs in the table all lie on line K. What is the slope of line K? Okay, from 3 to 1 is subtracting 2, and I always circle that. From 1 to 2 is adding 1. The reason this is circled is because I'm going to make a fraction with a circled number on top. The other number goes on the bottom. Simplify, -2 divided by 1 is -2. That is your slope. The slope is -2. This one, they want you to factor, so I'm going to make 2 sets of parentheses. Split your x's up evenly, so x squared. To get a negative, you have to have a positive times a negative, and the square root of 16, this is called a difference of 2 squares. Square root of 16 is 4. Now, there is no such thing as a sum of 2 squares, so this first one, you just have to write it down like it is. But this is a difference of 2 squares again, because the square root of 4 is 2. So you can take that one again. You split up your x's evenly. To get a negative, it's a positive times a negative, and the square root of 4 is 2. And that's the answer. It's gone all the way down now. What is the maximum value of this function? Okay, this is A, this is B, and this is C. The x value, maximum value, is the y value of a function. But to get that, we've got to get x first. So x has a formula. It's the opposite of b over 2a. So the opposite of positive 32 is negative 32 over 2 times a is negative 16. Okay, so that's negative 32 divided by negative 32, which is a positive 1. Then you take the equation and plug in 1 for all the x's. So negative 16 times 1 squared plus 32 times 1 plus 20. Okay, exponents first. 1 times 1 is 1, times negative 16 is negative 16. 32 times 1 is 32, and you add 20. Okay, I usually put like signs together, so 32 and 20 is 52. And then 52 take away 16 is 36. And I think that was it.